Okay, let's talk about why reparations probably ain't gonna happen. Um, First of all, once they give us these reparations, um, the people who are giving them, they're not gonna be responsible for what happens. Now, got to understand is what are gonna what's gonna be these reparations? What is it? Is it money? Is it property? Is it power? Is it education? Is it government? Is it police? Is it food? What is it? We're not asking for that. We're just saying reparations. We're not saying what it entails. What is it? What are we supposed to be getting? Now, under this current society, there's certain things that certain groups have already that if we would say have our own version of it, we probably couldn't really run it. Let's see. You're talking about education. Um, do Mexicans have a school that they own and run? And all the teachers are Mexican. And is the board, are they Mexican? Is the education board, are they Mexican? Is the principal, is he Mexican or she? Is it janitors, are they all Mexican? Is it, because you can have a school that's, everybody who works there could be Mexican, but they might actually not even run the school. So who owns the school? Or is it either government or it's a community or it's a a private organization. So you actually don't actually own it, you just work there. So it's kind of like what they say about there's just no such thing as a black community. It's just a neighborhood full of black people. You don't run anything in the community. You just live in it's not really a community. It's just a white community populated by blacks. It's just a Mexican neighborhood. It's a white community populated by Mexicans or Asians. You don't actually run anything in the neighborhood or in the community. You just live there. You don't own any of the houses. You don't own none of the schools. You don't own none of the police departments. You don't own anything in the local government. Anything with community or education or cleanup or sanitation, electricity, plumbing. You don't own any of those things. You might work there, but you don't own any of them. So if you're going to get these reparations, let's say you're going to say run schools now, do you really think that we have enough responsibility and fortitude to run these things? Like, I don't think so. You gotta understand, like, blacks have a real problem with, because I'm talking about blacks now, we have a real problem with firing people. We don't know how to fire people. Trump, he can fire some people, but we have a real problem with firing people. We have people in our community that mess it up, jack it up, dirty it up, but we do not get rid of these people. We let these people live around us for years. We have officials, government officials in high positions in the government and education run it to the ground, and we don't even get rid of them. And they stay in the community, speaking up for the community, running everything in the supposed community. But we don't never check these people. We never ask them any, because if you're running a company, if I was running a company, I would want to know, do you know how to run a company? How many companies did you work in? How much money did that company make? How much money did it lose? How many employees that you had to fire? How many did you hire? I would like to know some of these things. And black people have a problem. All they see is, well, if he went to college and he got this little piece of paper, well, he must know what he's doing or she's doing. and we'll just look past it. All we see is black, and we're done. We don't need to see nothing else. So that's why you got Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton walking around, because we don't have to see anything really. All we got to see is you feel bad, and you care about our feelings. You don't have to actually do anything. You just have to care about our feelings. Let's talk about how reparations is way too complicated, because you're talking about tribes now. You're talking about where these people actually came from, and I don't know how you're gonna figure that out. I mean, because the Mexicans, that's not a race. That's a newly thing, um, and they actually originally didn't speak Spanish. So you're talking about they're not Mexicans, not a race, and Spanish is not their language. So what is their language? So, and then you say, if we don't know the original language, we don't know their race, then what is their original government? What is their original education? What is their original science? Who are their original leaders? If we're gonna give reparations to the Mexicans, we got to figure out where did they come from. What government do they belong to? What leaders? Who were they? Who were their kings? Who were their queens? Who were their witch doctors, their scientists? Who were they? We don't know. The Mexicans don't even know. Most Mexicans don't even know they're not actually Mexican. So they can be from South America, they can be from Aztec. That's another civilization they had. Mayan civilization, Antarctica. I mean, there's Spain. We don't know. We don't know where they came from. And if you ask them, they probably don't even know. And Aztec and Mayan are two different civilizations. Mayans was kind of like the barbaric one, and then the Aztecs were kind of like the scientists. They had pyramids and everything. It was, I think they came up with the calendars or something. They were pretty awesome. And some Mexicans probably don't even care about that no more. You know, they got too many problems. And then when you talk about Africa, oh man, there's so many countries, tribes, dialects, languages, religions, diets. There's so much. There's so many tribes. There's no way you gonna figure out where their leaders are, where their government is, where they came from. I mean, you go on Ancestry.com and you can figure it out. Like I found out, man, I'm from Ghana, and Indian, my Native American heritage is the Blackfoot Indian, Blackfoot Feet Indian, whatever. So you can find out if you want. I don't know what it's gonna do, because if I'm trying to get reparations, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Because another question is, if they're gonna give us reparations, who are they giving it to? Are they gonna give it to me, or are they gonna give it to my original tribe, which is Ghana? Or my original country, where my people came from, was Ghana. If they're gonna give it to me, why would they give it to me? Wouldn't they giving it to my ancestors, which are not even alive? So, but then, well, who? Like, who are they gonna give it to? And then you're talking about slavery. Slavery is still going on, and was going on in a lot of countries. Ethiopia, Jamaica, France, you know, Europe, and Middle East, Africa, India, Asia. I mean, it was going on everywhere. Australia. Oh my God. So many places slavery was going on. And so many debts that were put on a lot of countries, of course, that were, sorry, excuse me, what they call it, unsubstantiated, weren't real. They made them up. You know what they do. The best scheme they usually do is They come into your country. Like the new current scheme is like, well, they'll come into your country and they'll see that your government's kind of, oh, this it ain't really that great. You don't have no border. You don't have no anything protecting your country. So they'll come in. They'll see that you're kind of struggling, and they'll like build a Walmart. Yeah. And then they'd be like, yeah, we built you this Walmart. Yeah, you owe us $20 million. And there are people's like, well, we didn't ask you to do that. But but that's what happens when you don't have no border and you don't have no military, no government. That's what happens when you don't protect your country and you don't watch who's coming in. So they can come in, settle in. It's like a land that's not occupied, or sometimes they'll occupy a land that has people on it, and they'll build something and say, hey, yeah, we gave you this Walmart. Yeah, it's gonna be great. We got you jobs, and yeah, y'all owe us money now. And the people like, well, we didn't ask you to do that. Well, we did it anyway. Well, y'all owe us now. Y'all might as well keep it because we got you some jobs. But no, 89% of people can't even shop at the Walmart because they ain't got no money. So only people shopping at the Walmart is probably rich people that come for tourism. So that's usually what they do with the schemes they do. And you gotta think about like Africa. You say, so you're talking about reparations gonna bring in education, government, police, um, electricity, plumbing, sanitation. It's so much stuff that you would bring in. And the real question is, okay, if you give us this stuff, where are you gonna put it? Because now you have to establish, you gotta round up all the blacks, and you gotta put them somewhere. And then that's where we're gonna build the new civilization, where we're gonna have our government, our police, our schools, our colleges, our sanitation, our science, our plumbing and watering and dams and all that stuff. That's what we're gonna bring in. That's what the reparations are gonna do, and then we can run it. And as individuals, we can run it, but as a group, it's probably not gonna work because we're not ready for that. But yeah, if we knew it. If we were good at picking leaders, it would go down pretty good. But because we're not good at picking leaders and we suck at interviewing people, we don't interview nobody. We just bring black people, just claim they a leader, and bam, they a leader. And they ain't have to do nothing. They just say, I'm the leader now. I care about black folks, and bam, they the new leader. We ain't do no interview. They ain't had no credentials. We won't have no track record. We won't have no contracts. It just, I care about black people. Bam, you a leader now. I care about Mexicans. Now you're the new Mexican leader. So, if you're going to put us in a place where we're going to have all this stuff, it's probably going to burn down. It ain't going to last that long. I mean, we can't even run Baltimore, let alone we're going to have a whole civilization, nothing but blacks, running all education, science, have our own science. We won't have, because we won't have no influence from the outside people. Because if we're going to be running it, like I said, if it doesn't go down well, or if it does, it's not the person who's giving us the reparations responsibility if it doesn't work out, or if it does work out. Because, you know, the Japanese got their reparations and they're doing good, as good as they can now. But that's not our problem. Whoever I guess it was the U.S. that gave them the reparations. They got problems, and you got pros and cons, whatever they got to deal with, but they got to deal with that, and they're doing pretty good dealing with it. Um, and they don't get, they usually don't, they try not to get people involved in the problems, and they do borrow money, and they borrow some money, and they, their currency went down, it devalued, but they bounced back because um, they handle their problems by themselves, or try to, and they don't get involved in wars and stuff. But they got their own problems and stuff. And if you look at the tribes that do the best, like the Native American tribes, the tribes that didn't get government assistance, they were actually the best, the best ones. I've talked to Native Americans, and they say their areas, man, their reservations are all jacked up. I mean, they got alcohol and domestic abuse and depression. They got some real problems over there, and they got their own government, own schools, own stores, sometimes education. They have to handle all of that by themselves. And the ones that say didn't get that and did it on their own, yeah, they're doing really good. But the ones that the problem with programs and entitlements is that once you take a responsibility from something, now you don't have to care about it as much. Because once it's not yours, once it becomes not yours, then you don't really have to, you don't care about it too much. You know how, like, if it's your child, you care about your child. But if I'm walking along and I see somebody else's child and he's dirty, I don't really care about it that much. It's not my child, unless you're just a compassionate person. But if it's my child and he's dirty, you should care that your child is dirty. But most of the time, if it's not my child, I can't care for too much. All I'm thinking is, what's wrong with their parents? They need to, step up. So, yeah. Um, Reparations is probably not going to occur because when the Europeans came here, there was already wars going on. And I mean, the Pablos were fighting the Cherokee was fighting the Mohawk, the Mohawks was fighting the Blackfeet. I mean, there's so many other tribal things that were going on. Anyway, because when the Cherokees would fight the Mohawks, when they would win, they would take their land, and then the Mohawks would have to go somewhere else. So people were being displaced all the time. They had to change where they were all the time. They were going everywhere. And sometimes you might leave one war, let's say, and it's happening in America, and you might go to South America and they might have wars. So you're always moving around because there's all these wars happening all the time. And that wasn't Europeans' fault. Before they got there, they were already fighting. That's not their fault. They had nothing to do with that. And the Europeans were fighting their own wars within Europe, and that's mainly why they were fleeing over here, because they have wars going on over there. They had slavery in their own countries. The Europeans were enslaving other Europeans. The French enslaving French, and the Irish and the Scottish were enslaving the Irish. I mean, there's so many slaveries that go wrong. Was going on even within their own people. They had their own slavery going with their own people. India and Middle East still got slavery. In some places, I forgot where there was this place in Africa. I forgot what it's called. That slavery actually is still legal. And as a matter of fact, there was a state just recently that slavery was still legal. So if you're talking about acquiring the riches from, let's say, the slave masters. Well, only way you can do that is you're gonna have to take people's stuff. Because if you're saying I have a house and I have a college education, I have a job, and I have a TV and internet and stuff. If you're saying the reason why I have that is because my slave masters owned slaves, my ancestors owned slaves, then that means you're gonna have to take my stuff, and that's theft. I don't know how you're gonna do that. You can try. People do, but they're not stealing it because um, they think your slave masters had. You think your ancestors had slaves? They just stealing it because they want it. They're not thinking in their mind when they rob you for your wallet. Oh well, your ancestors had slaves. That's why I'm taking your wallet. Nah, they're just doing it. Just be doing it. Um, and most of the time, the people who are talking about we gotta say redistribute the wealth, they're not talking about their wealth. They're talking about other people's wealth. Bill Gates, his wealth. They're not talking about their own wealth because they're not going to give up their wealth, their iPhone, their car, their house, their job, their education. They're not going to give up that and give it to, let's say, the indigenous people. No, they're talking about the rich people, the well-off people. But last time I checked, rich people ain't afraid of the government. They ain't giving up nothing. No, no, you're gonna be the first to give up your wealth because you're afraid of the government. And most of these kids that spout this stuff, they a bunch of punks anyway, and they'll do it in a second. These people, these millennials, I don't know what they got. These kids now, these a bunch of punks. They gonna last one day in jail. So they'll in no time do anything the government says. Um, so, and my grandma, she's not asking for no reparations. You know who's asking for the reparations? Young people who don't run nothing. That's who's asking for reparations. My grandma ain't asking for no reparations. She can care less about no reparations. She got her own problems. And what's she gonna do with reparations? I mean, my grandma's too proud. She probably wouldn't even take it. She gonna take it from the same white man that enslaved her ancestors? I don't think so. Got too much pride to do all that. And welfare has already redeemed us 10 times. So welfare programs, people talk about like food stamps and how we black African Americans only get $140, but actually they can get actually over 1,000 if they have kids and stuff. So it ain't no $100 no more. You can get like $1,000 if you got like 3 kids. And that's just like food and clothing, and then you got free lunch, and then you got what do you call it, free clinics and education, and it all sucks, of course. Anytime you're getting something free, you ain't got to do it yourself. If you're like I was saying, if you're not getting it yourself, and you're not acquiring it yourself, and you don't really care what it is, as long as it's free. But hey, if I'm paying for it, I would want it to be good. I don't want to waste my money. So the question is, if we did get reparations, would we actually do anything with it? I would say no. But as individuals, if we knew who to give it to, it would work out pretty good. So yeah, I don't need to say, man, well, man, if you blacks got the reparations, man, it'll really suck, man. No, no, no. If we knew who to give it to, it would work out. And we would basically have to make up a contract. If we give this to Oprah, these things she's gonna have to do before we give it to her. Now, then it will work out. If we say, Oprah, we're going to give you $5 billion, but you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to create this school, this many schools, teach this in the school, teach these type of sciences and maths, and teach this type of history, then it will work out. If we just gave Oprah $5 billion and didn't tell her what to do with it, it ain't gonna work out. She gonna go buy a house. She gonna chill somewhere. But if we tell Oprah, if we took all the people who understand media, society, and perception, and we gave them money, and we told them, this is what television shows we want to see. This is what news we want you to broadcast. This is what schools we want you to create. This is what the police is supposed to look like, and this is how they're supposed to police. This is how we want our government to run. This is how we want our sanitation and our internet and our electronics and science and math and inventions, and this is how we want this to run. If we don't tell the blacks or the individual we give the money to, this is what you need to do, then they're not going to do it. If you're going to give Black Lives Matter $20 million and you don't tell them what you're supposed to be doing with the money, then they don't have to do anything. You're just saying, hey, Black Lives Matter, we're going to give you $20 million to run your movement. Wait, that's all you told them to do? Wow. That move is gonna run pretty badly. And guess what? You didn't ask them to run it good. You didn't tell them what you wanted them to do. Of course they're gonna run it badly. You didn't tell them what to do. You didn't give them any instructions. There's no contract. Where's the contract? The reason why companies run the way they run is because by contract they're supposed to make a profit. They're supposed to do this. Okay, if I have a corporation and the job of my corporation is to sell hamburgers, and they're supposed to be this, they're supposed to have this ingredient, they're supposed to have the way this is going to look, it's supposed to cost this, and it's supposed to make this amount of money each year. By contract, I have to make sure that happens. If I don't make that happen, I break the contract and I can sue you now. So the way corporations work now is they have investors. And investors, they come in, when they invest into your company, they expect certain results. So, but with reparations, hey, when they give them, they don't care what happens. It's your responsibility to make it work. And if it doesn't work out, you ain't getting no more. So it's gonna have to work out. If it doesn't work out, you ain't getting no more. It's not like the government where they can just keep giving you money, because they keep giving Native Americans money and they still poor. So even the money is not doing anything for them either. They're still poor, alcoholics, domestic violence, broken families, deadbeat dads, moms, all kinds of stuff. Murders. Yeah, they're not doing too good. So even with getting money every year, they ain't even doing good. Their people still poor, overweight, obesity. And matter of fact, our problem right now isn't kids are going hungry. We actually got plenty of food. It just ain't good food. So you got a whole bunch of beast kids out there getting plenty of food. It just ain't good food. So, but whose responsibility is that? Well, it's the people. If you're expecting, again, you're expecting the government to be responsible for your kids' health. It ain't gonna happen. They don't live with you. They don't know you. They don't have no reason to feel for you. They don't care anything about you. You care about your own kids. the way we used to do it. When people talk about the old days was better, yeah, they were better. Because we had less handouts. So do I want reparations? No. I just want equal opportunity. That's what I want. I don't want no handout. I don't want no reparations. I don't want no programs. Whatever. Just treat me with respect and I'll be alright. So, is reparations going to happen? Probably not. Has it, I guess you say, has it happened in the way that we wanted it to? No. It hasn't happened? Yeah. It's called welfare. Did welfare help us? No. Are we better off? I would say all the atrocities that we have endured, yeah, we're better off in, let's say, that. Slavery and hangings and all that craziness. That has stopped here. I don't know about anywhere else. Not many places. Basically all the white nations. Uh, but on a high note, I would say, if we do give reparations, we need to make sure that once we get it, we tell the people who we're giving it to, this is what you need to do. If you're going to start a school, we're going to need good teachers and only good teachers. And if they're not good teachers, you need to fire them. You need it when you have police. When you bring in our own police and police our own neighborhood, you need to bring in only good police. And if they're not doing a good job, you need to fire them. You need to get rid of them, or you need to talk to them or form them or something. If they still don't do a good job, you need to get rid of them. If you bring in somebody who's going to handle sewage, sanitation, and stuff like that, you know, the cleanliness of our civilization. If they do a good job, you pay them more. They do a bad job, you penalize them. And if they do a really bad job, you need to fire them and give them another job that they can do. Teach them another skill. So if you bring in, if you're gonna handle you know, media and all that stuff is very important. Because media, what that does is, it's kind of like, media is important because it's what motivates people to do things. So if I'm doing bad, let's say if I see somebody doing well, that's going to motivate me to want to do better. So media is actually important. Not all stereotypes are bad. Some actually be good. Because stereotypes is based on reality, you know, an actual person. And sometimes you can exaggerate a stereotype. You can make, let's say, a regular person you can call Superman, and that's actually a good thing, because you know, it's motivating people. It's mostly for kids. Motivate kids to do better. So, reparations will be good only if we know who they're going to, um, and we understand what we're gonna do with them. If we don't do that, if we just get them and just spend them all on rims, it ain't gonna do nothing. Alright. But we do things to make ourselves feel good. If we do that, it ain't gonna work out. But if we do things and we understand who's getting them, and we make up a contract of what they're supposed to do with them, and we check up on them, we don't just give them money to build a school and don't check on them and make sure the school's isn't running correctly. Make sure the school's running correctly. If we don't do that, I don't know. It can go downhill. It can go in the toilet. So reparations ain't gonna happen right now, because as a group, we gonna suck. Their money gonna go right into the toilet and ain't gonna do nothing. But because right now We suck at firing people. We suck at picking actual good leaders. We suck at telling people exactly what they're supposed to be doing. We suck at checking them on them. Like they check up checking on them after they do what they're supposed to be doing. Since we suck at that, it ain't gonna happen. But as long as we educate ourselves more on education, because educating ourselves on past things, I don't know. Unless we start over, we don't really need that much information about that, about our history, because that's not currently what we're dealing with. We're dealing with currently is bad parenting, or say no two parents in a household, bad relationships, and violence towards each other. And there's more violence towards each other than is towards the government towards us, or the cops towards us. We do more violence towards each other than others do to us. So we need to tackle that first. So we need fathers in the home. We need men to be men. We need women to be women. And kids to be kids. Kids don't need to be acting like no adults. And parents should be parents. That should be a parent. Anyway, so reparations probably ain't gonna happen, and it don't really need to happen. All we need to do is just take what we got right now and fix it and do better with it. Alright, I'm out.